I've been out and bought myself two new bikes. These are two red Honda CBF125s. They're a 2008. This one has got a seized engine apparently, the last owner told me, and it's pretty battered all around. It's been through some wars. Front panels are sort of on. Tyres are good on this one. It's all complete, it's all there. So it just needs a complete rebuild. But at least it's all there. It's not bad. And then this one is more like a parts bike. The engine is also blown up. I'm going to rebuild these two bikes and they'll be great projects. A lot of the parts are here, but they're a bit of a jumble. So I'm pretty happy to have bought these two. Welcome to a new video. I've been away on holiday, but I'll be back to filming now. This is a Honda CBF125. It's a 2008 model. And it's not too bad, but it does look better than it is. So I bought this on the 1st of Jan 2023, and I've been so busy with other projects and bits that it's just been in the background. But I'm getting to it today and I can't remember what the guy said was wrong with it. So I'm going to press the starter. You just have a click, and that is a typical problem caused by a low battery. So if your bike clicks like that, first of all charge the battery. If that doesn't work, check all of the grounding points and the wires. It will just be current not going through. And if none of that works, another trick you can do is, if we look under here, this is the starter solenoid, right? So if you just press the starter for me, you hear that click. Look at it on the, so that click is this starter solenoid right here. And so what's happening is the battery doesn't have enough juice. So when you press the starter, electricity comes to these 2 points here, and then it goes into these, and then it will fire a magnet up that way, and then it will bridge across these 2 points. So what can often happen is, if there's not enough juice in the battery, the motor doesn't fire it up hard enough to bridge it. So just to demonstrate what I was saying, these are the 2 points here, and to check what the fault is, you can just bridge between those two. And if the battery was fully charged, you would see a spark there. But because nothing happens, it may actually be that these two are corroded. But what I'm going to do, first of all, is I'm just going to put a trickle charger on this battery for a couple of hours while I do other stuff. Then I'll come back to it and just see if it will fire over. These two pieces are too corroded. So what I'm going to do right now is get my spinny drill, clean all of these up, all of these contacts on the battery, on this part, the wires, all of it, and then just see if I can clean up that corrosion so that the electricity can flow back through to the starter motor. And then I want to see if this engine turns over. I can't remember what the guy said, and I have a feeling this engine is a non-runner, so I may have to change it, but let's see, and let's do that work first of all. So I'm just using my spinny drill, so I'm going to clean up all of these contacts. I'll just push this directly onto the battery, we'll see what happens. No, so none of that is working. So I think there must be a loose connection downstream. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come all the way down. I'll just pull this out of the way. You can see inside there, that's the end of the wire. So that's where that wire goes onto the starter motor. And it looks like there's a bad connection somewhere, so I need to track that down and just see if I can work out why the juice is not going from the battery to the starter motor. So when you break it down, there are two wires going to and from the starter motor. So there's the positive, which is this one, and then there's the negative, which is the earth. And I've just got rid of the starter valve, the starter relay for now. And to make it really simple, I'm just touching the plus directly to the plus wire. The negative is on there, and then with this negative earth, I'm going to the earth grounding. Now normally, if everything's working properly, this should cause the starter to turn, because you have positive going to the starter, and negative is coming back through the ground into the negative terminal of the battery. And to test all of that, you can see if I touch those two, which is the negative, positive, there is juice coming to this point, it's just not making its way through. So the starter looks to be the problem here, and quite often what this can be is that when a bike sits like this for a period of time, you just get a bit of corrosion build up inside the starter, and quite often if you just turn if you just spin the starter manually by hand, it will clean off enough corrosion for it to free itself up and to work again. So I'm going to remove the starter and just spin it over a few times by hand and just see if it feels okay. It looks pretty new, so I think it should be good. So I'm going to do that now, and it's just a 10mm here, which I'll undo. And then this is the 10mm positive. Now I do need to be careful not to electrocute myself, or not electrocute, but burn myself. So we'll take that off, and now this looks like it will just pull out. I'm a bit suspicious because this looks a little bit too new to me, and I'm thinking someone might have been here before me. So there's my starter, and it turns over pretty nicely. So what I'm going to do now is to just kind of localize things a bit. I'm going to put the positive to my starter. So there it is, that's the positive, and this is where the positive should go. So I'll do that, and then I'll ground out the starter, and it just looks like we've got a dead starter. So I have acquired myself a new replacement engine, which I don't know if it works. This came from a bike that just was for spares, but it has got a starter motor on here. So I've got my favourite tool, and I'll just give that a knock and just give it a little test. Sounds alright-ish, and we'll just repeat the whole test that we were doing just now. So positive goes to there, and we'll earth out. Something is really not right here. So I don't know what it is. I might change this battery just in case it's that. We'll just carry on. I was using the wrong wire. Right, so I need to touch the positive, and this is the negative. Right, there you go. So that is a good starter. So it looks like the starter on this bike was no good, so that can go straight to the scrapyard. And I'll put this one on the bike right now. So it's just a repeat of the previous process. So just push it in there. Might need my hammer, but it should just feed up in there. Grab my hammer and just knock that sucker into place, and then I need to put the earth wire to this bit here, so then that'll go there. Line up the holes. So I'll do these bolts up in a second. So that bolt goes there, and then I'll put this one on there. With the starter motor changed, I'm going to just see what happens. So just press the start there. Okay, something. Wow, okay, that was different. Let's try that again, just for scientific interest. Well, I don't know what's wrong with that engine. I think it's probably the bottom end bearings or something significant, but that engine is never getting used again. That's going straight to the scrapyard. You could just hear that noise. I'm just going to try it again because I do want to kind of get that noise across. I mean, when it's running, it sounds a bit... Okay. I need to actually have a look and see what's up with this engine. It actually runs alright at higher revs, but something is clearly catching, or something's wrong inside it. So probably the best thing to do is just take this thing out, put it in the scrapyard, be done with it, and put a new one in. So I do have over here, I've got an engine here that I don't know anything about. I don't know if it runs anything. You might have seen in another video I had a braking CBF125 for spares. It was 2012, Polish registration, and it was just a spares bike, but the engine may run, so I might as well just throw the engine in and just see what happens. I'm going to test it first, so I'm going to put the starter back on, see if it spins over, do a compression test, and if it's got good compression I'm going to throw it in there and just see what happens. So let's do all of that right now. So this engine needs to be changed, and I'm going to make things a bit easy on myself and strip the front end off a bit. These bikes come apart really easily and I want to do a bit of body work on this one anyway. So I'm going to just remove the front end. So I'll put these aside. So I've got those two, and then down inside the front here there are two 12mm bolts which I can access by just pushing the handlebars to one side, and I'll just try and loosen those off. So I've got those two bolts off and I should be able to just remove this whole thing as one piece. Yeah, so there you go. So it's just an easy way to get access and do things a bit more easily. So two bolts, two screws, why not? So I can just unplug all of this lot, and then this whole guy will come off in one go. And there's just the speedo cable, which I'll just leave actually. I'll just put it there. I've still got access to all the bits I need. So now that's a really nice clean canvas, and I'm going to start removing all of this. So I've got exhaust to come off, engine bolts, and this whole engine will just come out. First thing I'm going to do is just remove this exhaust, and I will do a bit of speeding up as we go through. I'll probably try and film quite a bit of this, but I'll just do some random speeding up so it doesn't get too boring. So this is the front plate that I've removed now, and there's also two 14mm bolts at the back. This is a really long useful screwdriver, and I can just put it right in there, and I'll just hammer it with my fingers a bit, push that bolt out, and I think this engine is almost ready to drop. There's the carburetors that I do need to disconnect, but I think they'll just pull out. And I'm going to push off this, which is the temperature sensor, so that's there. And I think we are going to be good to go. So I'm going to get this and just lever this engine. I don't want to get my fingers caught in this, but if I just give it a bit of a shake, I think this whole thing is just going to fall out, but I might just lift it out the way. Now I've forgotten a crucial piece. I forgot to remove the chain, so that's what's holding the engine still in. So I'm going to have a look at this chain. If it's no good, I'm going to just cut it off. If it is okay, then I'll have to remove it properly, but most likely I'll just cut that sucker off. So let's do that. So one engine out the bike, here it is. Not too heavy. These are just about 25 kilos. So perfect for doing weights like me. I can lift 25 kilos one arm. So extra tools. So next I just need to basically get this out of the way, grab the new engine, throw that sucker in and just reverse. It's taken literally 20 minutes to pull that guy out, and let's hope it'll be 20 minutes to put the new one back in. To put the Honda CBF125 engine in the bike is a little bit more difficult than a CBR125 because of this piece of the frame coming down there. You can't necessarily swing the engine up in the same way as I've shown with the Honda CBR. So you basically just have to lift it up into place. The other way how to do it is to lie the bike on the side, which is kind of easier, but I'm just going to give it a go and just see if I can lift it in from this position. So basically I have to feed it up there, I'll rest it on there, and I will sit on the bike like this and just hopefully not cut my fingers off. But no, I'm not going to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it the easy way, which is just to grab the whole bike I'm not making this look easy, but it is the easiest way to do it. I'm basically going to lie the engine on its side, feed that guy up in there, just put it where it needs to be, which is about there, and then grab a bolt and throw it in place. I'm going to have to do this off camera so I don't swear and get demonetised. See you in a second. Okay, so I've got the new engine in, and before I spend all my time doing all the bits up properly, I just want to do the absolute minimum. So let's call it a minimum viable product. And so I'm going to connect in the engine wires, anything it needs to run, like the carburetor, the fuel, all that stuff, and then I'll just see if it will fire up. So on this side of the engine there's some random wires. So this is the wiring loom, and so under here I'm just going to plug in anything that goes to the engine wires. So for example, this is the generator, that one goes to there, and then we've got the earth wire, which is the blue and yellow, so I'll find that somewhere in there. Here it is. So that one can go to there, and the rest I probably don't even need, but I might as well plug them in. So we have got, that's the side stand, which I'll leave for later. This is the neutral switch, which I might need, and then this blue is, I don't know, something else, can't remember. So that can all go under there, and I'll just leave that open because this is for the side stand switch, which isn't connected up just yet. I don't need to connect this, which is the gear lever. I just want to make sure the engine runs first, so that's good. Don't need those fuses. Coming around this side, let's find some other minimum stuff. So there is, for example, the starter, which we talked about before. So this is the good one, which I've tested already. So I'm just going to grab it from this engine, which is the one that we tested and said is no good. So I'll grab that and just put this guy straight onto this engine. And so nice and easy, put it in. I haven't even bolted up this engine yet. There's really no need to, because if it doesn't start or run, then it's coming straight back off again. But I will put that one, I'll put the earth wire. So this is the earth, and I'm going to put it to there, which is where it does go. And so it's in place. Okay, so that's there. And this is the positive that goes to the starter. Put all the other bits on afterwards. The one thing I do want to do is change the oil, but let's just have a look and see if there is oil in this engine. I mean, there is, it's terrible, but I think it'll do for what we need to do right now. So just for giggles, let's just see what happens. I mean, I think it'll turn over. So that kicks ass. So random engine out of a random bike that we didn't know if it worked. That sounds perfect. So I just need to put the exhaust on, put everything back together, and this bike can well be done today. So I'm pretty happy about that. I really want to get this one sold and out the door. So I'm going to keep going, put this bike together, tidy some stuff up as I go. I've done up a lot of engine bolts, and so everything's looking pretty good. I did up these ones around the front and put the clutch cable back on. These pieces are reattached, so it's looking pretty good. The next thing I need to do is get underneath here, take this bolt out, and the oil should fall out. I always do an oil change on these kind of things. So there it is, there's the old oil. Doesn't look that good, and there's not much of it in there. So very much time for a change, so I'll leave that to drain out over the next few minutes and then put some new stuff in. This bike has got half decent bodywork. There is a dent in the tank there, and there's a few scratches and issues around, but it's not too bad. So I'm going to pull this off so I can just have a look at the rear section. And the way these two panels are held together is that there are some
little clips. You can see there should be one there, but it's kind of broken. And then on this side they're mostly missing. That one's missing and that one's missing. However, I've got some new ones. I buy these on eBay for £5 for 20 of them, and I can just push this on here, and then that will solve my issue of the panel not holding together. So there it is on there, and this will hold the panel together. So I'll put some more on, and then we can put these two panels back together. I want to tidy up a few bits on this bike. So here we've got the front forks where you can see the paint is just peeling away. So what I'm going to do is just get my little scratchy pad here and just give it a little rub down, get rid of any loose flaking paint, and then I will spray this thing black. I need to tackle this front assembly. This panel has got a big crack all the way down there, and I'll fiberglass this one later for another bike, but for now I'm just going to change it because I've got a new one here. So I'm just going to unscrew this guy, put the new one on. To do it, there's just a couple of screws inside here, and so I'm going to switch this out now. I have got the front back on the bike and it's looking pretty good. This is the panel that I replaced and it looks alright, it looks quite good. There is the dent in the tank, but I'm not going to go too crazy on this bike. It does not owe me much money and I don't want to put a lot of time into it. So next I'm going to put all of this lot back together. I've got my rear end here, which I've put that back together, and I'll also put the rear grab rail on, which I have resprayed in black, so that will just sit there. And then I'll put all of these panels back on and let's see how this bike looks. It's looking pretty good. The back tail section is back on, the rear grab handle, and I've got this side panel on as well. So the bike's coming together. The next thing is I need to put the chain and sprocket back together. So this is the one that was on the bike. Obviously this is the old engine. So I need to take this off. To do it, just make sure it's in gear, and then it's just a 10mm. I've got this chain and sprocket on, and the way to do it is to undo these two nuts here and push this part forward so that the whole wheel moves forward, and that will loosen off the chain. And then you can just slip the whole front sprocket complete with the chain on it onto the shaft there, and then tighten up the two bolts. And now I can go ahead and tighten that this nut up again, and it will pull the wheel backwards, tighten up the chain, and then I can just tighten up the rear wheel, and that will be done. And then once that's all finished, I will put on this sprocket cover and just tidy up this side of the bike, and it's nearly finished actually. I have put the front seat on and now the rear seat. To top up the oil, I use this, which is a 1 litre bottle, and I get these bigger bottles because they are cheaper to buy 4 litres at once instead of 1 litre, and I'll try not to spill it on camera. I'll just pour out 1 litre into this bottle, and then I can put it into the bike and into the hole. This is my exhaust, which I've conveniently placed in an old bath from my house, which is being refurbed, and I'm just going to give it a really quick spray. This paint is nearly empty, but I have another one as well. So that is a wrap for this bike. I've put the exhaust on and everything else is pretty much sorted. The paintwork looks okay. There's my painted rear grab rail and the rear side. The exhaust looks okay. So yeah, it's not a bad bike. It's turned out pretty nicely. So I'll be selling this one really cheap on Facebook, and on to the next one, I guess. Let me know if you want to see any particular bike rebuilt. If not, I'll grab one randomly and I'll see you then. Bye.